Hello and welcome to another episode of Financial Deep Dive with CWT. For today's episode, I want to talk about why every business should be doing everything they can to get people to use Bitcoin. Like, businesses have an incentive to accept Bitcoin over really any other method of payment. And to start off, I want to talk about why businesses have an incentive to accept Bitcoin over something like Visa or MasterCard. And the reason for that is if you go up to a business and you pay with a Visa or a MasterCard, well, they have to send those companies 3% of that transaction for basically permission to accept those cards. And the thing is, they have to do that right now because most people are using those cards to pay for everything. That's how most things get done right now. And if a business does not accept those, if they refuse to accept Visa, refuse to accept MasterCard, well, then a lot of potential customers can no longer shop at those stores. So they have an incentive to send 3% of basically every single purchase to Visa MasterCard, which businesses don't want to pay that. And for proof of that, you really don't have to look any further than Costco. At Costco, they will not accept MasterCard. If you have a MasterCard and you go to Costco, it just won't work. And the reason for that is that, they try to get MasterCard to waive that 3% fee, and MasterCard refused to do so. They refused to get rid of the 3% fee. So Costco just refused to work with them, which, right now they still accept Visa. But, for everyone that uses MasterCard, they either have to get a Visa or find a different way to pay for the stuff they get at Costco. And I think this is going to become more and more normal at businesses because they don't want to send 3% of every single transaction to another business when they don't have to. And a way they don't have to is Bitcoin, right? If I go up to a store and I purchase something and I use Bitcoin to do so, well, they don't have to send 3% of that to anyone. They don't have to do anything really. They just accept 100% profit on every single sale. They get 100% of their transaction. And, when you think about it like this, right? Imagine you're a business owner, you have the choice. You can either send 3% to another company or keep 100% of everything yourself. You're going to pick 100% of everything. You're going to pick 100% of everything every single time. It makes no sense not to. And that's one of the reasons why businesses have an incentive to spread Bitcoin, right? They should be demanding that everyone start getting into Bitcoin because it helps the store so much. And as more and more people get into Bitcoin and start wanting to be able to use it at stores, not only do they want to allow that because it helps them with their customers, like customer service, it actually helps the business out itself. It's a win-win for everyone in that situation. Another reason is that if I go to a store and let's say I buy something and I use the Lightning Network to do so, the store gets my money essentially instantly, which is absolutely amazing for them. Because if I went up to that store and I used, a credit or debit card, or I walked up to that store and used, a check, or any method besides cash, they do not get that money instantly. With checks, it takes a week to actually have it cleared into their bank account. And, it takes a few days with Visa or MasterCard or any kind of credit or debit card. That gives them an incentive to want to accept Bitcoin. Because with Bitcoin, they have it instantly. Think about it again, right? If you're a business owner and you have two choices, you can either have someone pay for something and have that money instantly, or have someone pay for something and have it in either 2 to 7 days. You're going to pick instantly every single time, which is another reason why every business should be, encouraging the use of Bitcoin. And I think that's something that's going to happen more and more. As businesses see that there is a legitimate way where they can avoid the 3% and can avoid having to actually wait for the money to enter their account and see more and more people start to use it, I think more and more businesses will start trying to get people to use Bitcoin because it helps them so much. Even though a lot of people that own Bitcoin want to start using it at stores, customers want to use Bitcoin, it actually benefits the store more than it does the customers. The stores are benefiting more than anyone. So if the customers want it and the stores are benefiting more than anybody else, it makes sense that this is what's going to happen. And I firmly believe, that we will see that, especially as the Lightning Network grows. I understand that a lot of people have problems with the Lightning Network, but I actually think it's one of the most genius things ever. Because think about it like this, right? Especially for small transactions, like how most of transactions be at like any restaurant or any store or something like that. Like, smaller transactions like that, the Bitcoin Lightning Network seems to be working amazing. And it's increasing in like the amount of people using it. Like more and more people are using Lightning, and the transactions that are happening on that, are increasing like dramatically. And when they're increasing that much, like when more and more people keep using it, and as it continues to expand, as it looks like it will, and business starts seeing how that works, it makes sense that they're going to want to accept it because they benefit so much from it. And like with larger transactions, the Lightning Network, you know, it'll never be able to provide larger transactions. Lightning Network is really just good for short transactions. But still, even if you send it on the regular blockchain, if you go to purchase something with Bitcoin and you don't use the Lightning Network, you just regularly do it, it's still going to be much faster than using like a check or like Visa, MasterCard, or something like that. But one thing that I've not mentioned is why it's better than cash. Like why businesses would want to accept Bitcoin more than cash. And I think the biggest reason for that is because customers just don't want to use cash. In fact, like they've even shown us like psychology, right? Like people spend less when they're using cash because they actually see the cash in their hands. They actually see the money that they're losing. Like psychologically, if you're going to buy something, it's much easier for you to swipe a card than use cash. And I think that kind of gives the stores an incentive not to want cash either. Because if they know, if people have cash, that they're going to walk into their store and spend less money, it gives them a huge incentive not to want people to do that because they're not going to spend as much. Like again, imagine you own a store and you have two choices. One, people are going to use something to buy your stuff that they're going to spend less of because they're using that, or they could use Bitcoin. I feel like a store is going to want to accept Bitcoin every single time if those are the two options. And since, at least I can't think of any other method of buying something besides, credit, debit card, check, cash, or Bitcoin. Like if those are the five options and Bitcoin beats every single one of them for a different reason, it makes sense that stores are going to want to accept it. So I think that's something that's going to be very interesting as Bitcoin 2022 has been going on, and I've been seeing a lot of people, talk about the benefits of Bitcoin. A lot of them have been mentioning how it helps developing countries. And it does, and I do think that's, something that should be mentioned. Because Bitcoin, while it does benefit people, in developed countries, especially those in like third world countries, like they benefit so much more than with Bitcoin than anyone else. And while that's really legitimate, what I did not see is many people mentioning, the huge incentive that people have, or the huge incentive that stores have, that businesses have to accept Bitcoin. I feel like, since Bitcoin was originally started as a currency, and, that's the main thing that it's trying to do, I feel like this is one of the most important parts about it right now. Like it just accomplishes business transactions better than anything else that we have. And that's another reason why it's valuable. Like if you look at what gives something value, it's what it does, right? Like it's what it's accomplished. If you have something that makes someone's lives easier, you have something valuable. And since Bitcoin not only helps like the people themselves, but helps the actual stores, is accomplishing two different needs for both ends of the transaction, that's the biggest thing of value that anyone can have. Like that makes Bitcoin immensely valuable. And I think that's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see how, stores like go with that. I know there's a lot of different, and this is also announced at Bitcoin 22. There's a lot of different companies that are making it easier and easier for businesses to start accepting, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And it's going to be really interesting to see how that all develops. Like it's going to be really interesting to see how stores start to, accept Bitcoin. And what I'm really curious about is if they do accept Bitcoin, will they instantly convert the Bitcoin to cash and like US dollars? Or will they keep it as Bitcoin and have that Bitcoin on the balance sheet, appreciating in value? Because while I do see that it is, I do believe it's way more beneficial for them to leave the Bitcoin as Bitcoin and have it, appreciate in value over time. I do believe that most, like BitPay, for instance, which is a really big company, but what they do is that they make it possible for Bitcoin, like for companies to accept Bitcoin, but it instantly converts to cash. And I see that happening at least right now. Like I see that's probably gonna be the way stores start like accepting Bitcoins, instantly converting it to cash. And that's really my prediction because it's easier to do that right now, especially with Bitcoin being an unproven asset. But I think as time passes and Bitcoin like proves itself more and more as an appreciating asset, I think more and more stores start keeping Bitcoin as Bitcoin. And then, it gets to the point where Bitcoin's actually a currency that is being used everywhere, like even by the businesses themselves. And I think that that's going to be very important. That's kind of my thoughts on that. Subscribe to this channel, whatever podcast platform you're currently listening on. And thank you for watching.